All right, everybody, welcome. We are live. And I can't say we today, it is just me. But, you know, on certain occasions going forward, I think if me and Jake are not available in the same time, it's best to put out something. So I figured we might do more of kind of like a Locked On Steelers podcast. Shout out to Chris Carter for that one. But really just more focusing in on like who I follow specifically. Same thing for Jake. So when Jake's going to be in the same boat that I am, you're going to be hearing a lot more of the Cincinnati Bengals and stuff like that, especially when the NBA season comes around. Obviously, I got my Pacers jacket on. So Jake has a lot of good insight on the Boston Celtics. Instead of not being able to have anything out there, I think it's best to have something out there. So this is kind of why we are doing this kind of format. But this is obviously not how it is. This is not how it's going to stay. So just want to make sure no one acts crazy when they see this and it's just one person. But before I get started talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's talk about wannaparlay.com. So wannaparlay.com is our main sponsor. So you guys hear that all the time. But I want to talk a little bit more about WannaParlay today and kind of explain the difference from WannaParlay to, other platforms. So on WannaParlay, every contest is boosted, which is really, really nice. And you'll see that 2x, 5x, 10x, 20x. So, that's just your multiplier, really, for getting your picks right. But in the main event, users can add $2,000 off of a $2 parlay when a sports book would have paid around $200 to $300 for that same exact parlay. Your daily pick'em contest boost, all multipliers off of the $10 minimum contest entry entry fee on these. And kind of what that means is a 3x contest. First place, you win 10 times. Second place, 8 times. Third place, 6 times. Fourth place, 4 times. Fifth, every winning parlay times 3. So you really do get more bang for your buck when you start to use WannaParlay for your daily fantasy sports. So the WannaParlay users consistently win more than they would on a sports book or really any other daily fantasy sports app. The Sportsbook What I've Paid feature highlights how much more a user can win with WannaParlay. So that's really interesting. On the parlay outcomes, you can see how much you would have won betting on a different platform versus what you did win using the WannaParlay boosting platform. Users in the main event have seen $2,000 payouts when sports books would have only paid them $250, which is why, going back to those contest boosts, depending on where you're at, you get 10 times what your winnings would have been. So I highly recommend WannaParlay. I think everybody should give it a shot. Make sure you use the promo code JMP every time you sign up for the first time. Obviously, you can't sign up multiple times and use the code multiple times. But tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone. JMP, that gets you on the board, gets you 100% deposit match up to $250. With that being said, with wannaparlay.com, I want to dive into the Steelers. It is the bye week, so we have a lot less to talk about this week, but I think the bye week couldn't have came at a better time, considering, playing in Dublin. I think that would be hard for anybody to come back to the United States and then play another game maybe 2-3 days after you land. No, I mean, I think they only had like an extra day in Dublin. But it is cool to see these international games being played where they've been played. And I think Dublin was an interesting choice because when you look at the history of the Steelers and you look at where the Rooney family migrated from, they migrated from Ireland. So I think that's what made that game feel even more of a home game than even what it was being advertised as. I mean, obviously, it's kind of like a mutual home game. I would assume that's why they do these. And obviously just trying to expand the NFL. It would be cool if we had, international teams. I've seen that in a post. I'm not against that. I think that would be cool. But I think being able to be part of a fan base as big as the Pittsburgh Steelers really excites me because I think every game that I watch, I'm always amazed to see how many Steelers fans are actually in the stands. Um, when they say that, I think they say for the most part Dallas has the best fan base, but I would 100% put the Pittsburgh Steelers in that list. But seeing the love and passion for the Steelers all the way out in Ireland was really cool. And then, like I said, obviously, I think the Steelers had a little bit of, a bias up there with the founders' history and stuff like that. But it was good. It was obviously a lot closer than it should have been, which has kind of been the theme of the Steelers so far this year. I wouldn't say that there's any win that, I mean, can't really say you like blew them out. Can't really say anything. Every win has been a one possession game. So you're looking at week 1, the Steelers and Jets game. That's a 34-32 victory. And then, taking that fat L the week after with the Seahawks, which I thought we were going to win. And I think we still had a good chance to win. Second half, just, abysmal and turnovers and bad route running and just Caleb Johnson. But we don't hold that against him. He had some reps last week. I mean, Jalen Warren was out, but it was good to see Caleb Johnson actually getting reps. The Seahawks. That is the reason why we have a negative score differential, because that 31-17 loss, which is the reason why I'm going to bring that up here in a second. Next game, 21-14 win over the Patriots. And that one should have been probably 49-14. The offense just absolutely stunk. So there's not much more to say about that Patriots game. I think everybody knew. I mean, Aaron Rodgers even said after that game, defense completely saved me, and we have to be better. And then you go one more week after, which is the Dublin game, 24-21. I mean, Steelers are up 24-6, so it felt like the best game so far. But once again, the offense kind of just stalls in the second half, and there's just not much you can do about that. Okay. Yeah, so then moving on from that, we are on the bye week. And then first 2 games, well, really the first 3 games after the bye week is tough. So you're looking at Browns, Bengals, Packers. And obviously, you could probably look at the first 2 teams and say, well, that's probably not that hard, considering the situation. Dylan Gabriel starting for the Browns. Jake Browning has not been good for the Bengals. But it is a division game. Every time the AFC North plays each other, it is just so much closer than what it should be every time. So even though, considering the state of quarterbacks for the Browns and the Steelers, Browns and Bengals, still not an easy win. And that's just how it always is. That's how the AFC North always has been. These games are always neck and neck. Quick little fact. believe the Steelers still lead 77-40 all time in the Steelers and Bengals rivalry, which is, pretty good. What is the Steelers and Ravens? So, okay, Steelers are 36-27 all time over the Ravens. And then Browns, honestly, Browns, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a lot closer. But there is some key points that I think we need to look at with this Pittsburgh Steelers whole team. Now, obviously, like I've been saying, the defense is getting healthy, which to me, I love the current state of the defense. Now, obviously, if you were to ask me after the first 2 weeks how I was feeling, I felt good. Felt like we were still like learning things as a brand new team on defense. But just like over the first 2 weeks, every third down was a first down for the opposing offense. I mean, there was just nothing the Steelers could do when it came to third downs and stopping third down conversions. So many 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, and it just seemed like every time they're leaving the wide open in the middle of the field, and it got to this point where if I'm watching the game and it's a third down, I literally I just had to go outside. I had to. But we definitely have cleaned it up. That, especially the Vikings game, there was definitely, I mean, they still have some good third down conversions. But for the most part, defense really actually showed out. Being able to throw 46 times in a game, I think, shows a lot. And so that is what Carson Wentz did. He was 30 of 46 last game, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jordan Mason, I think a lot of people thought he was going to have a crazy game. 16 rushes, 57 yards. And then kind of just how we expected it to go with Jordan Addison being back. The receivers had a great game, especially for fantasy, because I have Justin Jefferson in the league. And 10 receptions, 126 yards, no touchdown. But Jordan Addison, 4 receptions, 114 yards with a long of 81 yards. And then that's when he got tackled at the 1-yard line by Peyton Wilson. Dog. Absolute dog. And then I just, if you're betting on touchdowns this game, for the Vikings at least, you probably would have won some money. Because the 2 touchdowns coming from Xavier Scott and Jalen Naylor. So that was his only catch, 2 yards on the day, and he got a touchdown. So not a bad stat. And just kind of looking at the Steelers group, Aaron Rodgers, 18-22, so not needing to throw the ball a shit ton. And it helps when you're up 24-6. You're not in a position to really, fight for every single drive. You really just want to take the time off the clock towards the second half. And that's what they were doing, because Kenneth Gainwell, I think early in the season, I definitely talked some shit. I definitely did. But 19 rushes, 99 yards. It's an average of 5.2 a carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. Caleb Johnson, 6 rushing attempts, 22 yards, 3.7 yards per attempt. And then Aaron Rodgers, being Aaron Rodgers, had that insane quarterback scramble, gets the first down on 3rd down, gets tackled from behind. He falls down, ball pops out, ball jumps on the ground, jumps right into the hands of Broderick Jones, the left tackle, and just takes it and runs. And then that play was also incredible because Aaron Rodgers is laying on the field, pointing upside down, first down. So Perk Rodgers, Shrunk Rodgers, whatever he is, I love him, and I need to get a jersey. I was not going to, but he's here. Got to rock with him, got to fuck with him. I do so far. DK Metcalf, though, doing what he absolutely fucking does. I mean, this dude finally looking like Seattle DK Metcalf. And Jake said last week, you just need to get him the ball more. And he was right to an extent. Okay. I am going to say that he was right about that because I had a different take to it that, like, I think he's doing his rule fine. And what I meant by that was I don't expect DK to get 6, 7 receptions. I don't even think 5 is, I think 5 could be like, the highest limit for him currently on the Steelers offense because you do have weapons. Even though they're not names like DK Metcalf, like Darnell Washington is an insane tight end. It just not a lot of playing time, but you use them on 3rd and shorts, goal line situations. So, like, obviously, Darnell Washington is not going to be anyone's, topic of mind before a snap most of the time. But when he does get used the way that he needs to be used on that line and on the passing game, I think he does great. Obviously, Pat Freiermuth has had a down year, but I think having Jonnu Smith is what the Steelers needed this year. I think having those 3 tight ends really helps. And you can basically put Jonnu Smith at the fucking slot receiver if you really wanted to. I mean, the dude is terrible at blocking. I love him. I love him on the team. I think he's a great addition. He is so bad at blocking. And, like, honestly, dude, if we're running 3 tight end sets, like, I pray that Jonnu Smith is running like a delay route or he's faking something. I hate him as a blocker. I love him as a pass catcher. So that's kind of like, that's my take on Jonnu Smith. I do think he's good. I think we need to utilize him in different ways because he is not good to block. But Calvin Austin with a scary injury, he went to the hospital in Dublin. It looked like his shoulder completely dislocated. So I don't know what his current status is. I would assume since we are on a bye week, there's not going to be much put out there. So I think I'm just going to pay more attention to Calvin Austin up until the end of or middle of next week and see how he's doing. But overall, heading into the bye, 3-1, I'll take it. Obviously, I thought we could honestly beat 4-0, but that Seattle game, there's just a lot of shit that went wrong in that game. But with that being said, when we look at the AFC North, obviously one of the key components to this is the Ravens being 1-3, because who could have seen that coming? And not only are they 1-3, Lamar is hurt. So you're looking at Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland, and when I go through this quarterback list, I'm going Jake Browning, Cooper Rush, and Dylan Gabriel. So those are the 3 quarterbacks that are playing this week. And I love it. It's great. So I think Dylan Gabriel might honestly be beneficial to Cleveland. So I would say they probably have the best chance to win this week out of anybody. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is that good. All right. Well, let's pump the brakes a little bit, but I think Minnesota is going to be a good test for him, especially with Dylan Gabriel. But they are home. I think playing home always plays a big advantage. And Cleveland does have a really, really, really great defense. So I think we just need to see how Dylan Gabriel does. But yeah, the current state of the AFC North is just kind of weird. And I really do think Jake does a better job at explaining the current situation of these teams. So I think that's one thing that Jake does a lot better at me at, that I feel like he knows the ins and outs of every team. So kind of like that, like I wish I could be more specific. Normally that's where Jake would be more specific and, add on his autistic thoughts. But I can't do it today. Cincinnati does have a tough matchup though, very tough. So it is 425 home against the Lions. Now that might be a it's not going to be a blowout, but Detroit will probably definitely cover the minus 10.5 on that. Yeah, we'll see. But who knows? Like Jake Browning can definitely do a lot better than what he has been doing, but I don't know. But the only reason why I'm bringing that up, and I didn't even want to get into like this week's games, but for the Steelers' sake, you've got to feel great. You've got to feel decent. Um, One thing that is also crazy is that the Baltimore Ravens currently hold the third best odds to win the NFL championship, and they are 1-3, buddy. How? With Lamar out, how? How do they have the third best? I just they're minus 125 to win the AFC North. Hello, how is that? Like the disrespect on the Pittsburgh Steelers is absolutely insane. You got a 3-1 team heading into a bye, getting a healthy defense, and you got the Ravens, who are 1-3. Lamar's hurt. Cooper Rush is playing the next 2 days, and you want to give the Baltimore Ravens minus 125 as of as of Friday. Like how? I don't understand Vegas. I don't understand sports betting. I don't understand those odds. But with that being said, this is a good time to be optimistic about what we need to expect from this offense going forward. Now, I think obviously Aaron Rodgers is a man of his word. And after the game, when he says, "Hey, man, we were ass, we sucked," um, I like to see that accountability, but at the same time, you can't say that and then play the same exact way the next week. Now, I think especially for this Vikings game, when we look at play calling, I think you have to look at Arthur Smith a little bit and be like, Rodgers had 4 incompletions, and we almost blew a 24-6 lead. So whatever the game plan is, and it seems like this is what the game plan is after the when the second half starts, is to let's make every drive as long as possible, because if there's like a 2 touchdown cushion, or even like a 1 touchdown, or even just like a 10-point cushion, it seems, because that was the Patriots game as well, it seems like that is the only objective, not to score, not to increase to 3 scores, not no. It seems like every time the plan is just to, hey, let's get the clock winding. Let's get it to where the last drive of the game is the drive for them to win. Hey, why not? I that's what I'm guessing is happening, because it just doesn't make sense. We had it was the first drive of the fourth quarter in that Minnesota game. It's 3rd and 8, and we are at our 41-yard line. So it's another 3rd down. You need 8 yards to be pretty much scoring range, because you do have Chris Boswell, and he can kick the ball. What do? We do a halfback sweep. Like, it's just shit like that. Like, you can't put blame on Aaron Rodgers in these sorts of situations, because when you look at his stat line, I think he's doing what he's asked to do, but I think what he's being asked to do is not enough on offense. Because when the Steelers play a team like Detroit, you cannot sit You cannot be happy with a 1-score lead, with a 10-point lead, even with the fucking 14-point lead. Look at the Buffalo Bills, dude, week 1. Like, that should tell you every possession you get, you have got to be trying harder. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to act like I know the whole entire playbook and stuff like that, because I don't. But if it's realistic for Madden, then yeah, I do. So, because that's the only playbook I run is the Steelers. But there, there has to be some sort of urgency when the second half starts, and it seems like that is what we've been missing so far this season. Is just that urgency. It's just not there. And I think planning for because a bye week this early sucks. It does for a lot of teams. So, I mean, you're playing pretty much nonstop for the next few months. There's not many breaks. This is your only break, and you're coming from Ireland. So, there's going to be a lot of basically vacation time during this bye week. But I think the biggest thing that they need to work on is having a more consistent offense. And there are times where you can't put the blame on Aaron Rodgers, because as fast as he has been throwing the ball out of the pocket, and I'm not saying that the line's been that bad, because they've honestly been good. That they've been very solid so far this season through 4 games. But that's just how Aaron Rodgers is going to play. He's going to sling it fast. He wants the ball out of his hands. But there are plenty of times where the fact that Aaron Rodgers is not getting blitzed, he probably could have held on to the ball for, 2 seconds, 3 seconds longer. And there are other routes being ran on that play, but when Rodgers throws it so quick, you're not giving anybody enough time to develop their route, their whole route tree. I mean, you're not giving them the time. So that is just kind of like where I think we as a team need to look. And as much as I love how much Aaron Rodgers throws it to everybody on the field, which seems like exactly what he has been doing, we need something else. We need that feed to DK more. We need more time to throw. And I don't mean more blocking time. I want Rodgers to make plays. I want him to hold on to the ball. I want him to be able to really be the man that he was in Green Bay. Now, obviously, he's older. He's not going to be that man. But I would love for him to be a little bit more of a guy who just sits in the pocket. So, I mean, I don't know. There is just so much going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I mean, nothing bad. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I think we are the team to beat. We are not. Defense is holding us like glue, like hot glue, really. I mean, there is just nothing else. There's just nothing else the defense can do at this point other than get more stops on third down, which they have been. The last 2 weeks have been a lot better. And this is why I'm, excited for the season, because we have a lot of healthy young talent on defense. And like Nick Herbig, man, 2 sacks on the season. Never asked to really make those kind of plays, but being behind on the depth chart, he is exploding. He's making plays. And I mean, I loved getting him out of Wisconsin. I think he is going to be like a mini TJ Watt. They play the same way. They have the same kind of play style. He trains with TJ every offseason. Like Nick and TJ work out together. So I love to see that chemistry between them two. And I really hope like Nick Herbig can develop into somebody like a DJ Watt level. That'd be insane. That'd be awesome. But obviously, don't bank on it. But it's nice to see like Jabril Peppers and stuff like that. Like, even though it's an older defense, they're good. Everyone's good. Deshaun Elliott is healthy, and pairing him with Juan Thornhill, Chuck Clark, I think those three in the backfield have done great. I really do. I think they've all done well. I think honestly, the worst new Steeler so far has been Darius Slay, um, but he is basically kind of like a Trayvon Diggs. Um, uh, he's not because he's not catching interceptions, but that's where he is. That's where I feel like he is trying to be. There are a lot of times where the guy that he is covering beats him because he's making a play for the ball. Not just a play, you know, trying to make an insane interception, like many times. Um, how about we don't for now? And why don't you just tackle the guy? Force that incompletion. Um, I would think that's probably what he should start doing, and it hasn't really cost him too much yet. He has allowed the most touchdowns on the secondary so far. But how much is that really is his fault? Is there other blown coverages? Who knows? But at the end of the day, this Steelers squad is strong, and I think definitely have a good run to at least win the AFC North. But I really need to see more from this offense. I really do, and we saw it with DK, 80 yards. Like those kind of plays exist, and that's what we need. That's how the Steelers, that's how the Steelers offense has been meant to play. Look at Big Ben and Antonio Brown, or when it was Big Ben and Mike Wallace for a little bit. Like there were big shots or big plays. That's what they're known to do. When you had Martavis Bryant, Chase Claypool, like you were taking the shots down the field. You were taking those one-on-ones. You got DK. Take it. Throw the ball. They said that on the Minnesota. The commentators did. They mentioned it that if I had a guy like DK, I would have thrown a lot more 20-yard balls than what I've been entering today, because I believe he has had 2 or 3 entering in to Minnesota. So he's just not. You're not giving him the chance to make a play. You've got to give him a chance to make a play, and when you do, he makes plays. So we've got to feed DK, no matter what it takes. You have got to get him the ball. Um, but yeah, I think if the Steelers do more of feeding their stars like they're supposed to do, the offense will look better, and that's really, I think, as simple as it gets. I think the line's been playing well. I think it hurts a little bit that you have Arthur Smith, but hey, he was better than the last Matt Canada clown show. So this is better than what we've had in the past. Still not great, and if we are wanting to compete at any higher level than just the AFC North contention, there needs to be offense, and it starts with DK Metcalf, starts with Jalen Warren, getting him involved in the receiving game every single fucking game. That dude is a dog when it comes to catching the ball in the backfield. We just need those. We need players like DK and Jalen Warren to rub off on everyone if that's how it's going to be. But I don't think it needs to be like that. I think we have the potential to be like a Bills offense. And I'm not saying like, total yards or anything like that, but like being able to be close to scoring every possession. Um, I think I believe it was the Ravens game, the shortest field that they had played with, or no, the shortest drive that they had in the second half of that game went to Baltimore's 41-yard line. So that tells you every single drive in the second half, they were in kicking territory or red zone territory, besides one time, which is the 41-yard line, which is still a leg. A lot of kickers can hit that. So getting into that field of play and just being there, I think everything, I would be floating in the air right now if we were averaging those points and those kind of yards, but we just got to be consistent. And that is exactly what Aaron Rodgers has said the last 3 weeks. So we just need to we need to trust Rodgers at this point. I would ultimately think that he has more of a say as to what is going on that defense, or not defense, offense. But there's something. I thought there was an insect crawling on my foot, but it is the cord to my mic, so we're all good. Just want to triple check because I freak out. But yeah, so that's kind of all I have, though. Obviously, Steelers are on a bye. I could go into schedule, prediction, but that's a lot better when it's me and Jake. So, yeah. So I hope you appreciated my input, and I hope this finds Steelers fans to the core. And if you are a Steelers fan listening, let me know if I'm correct, or kind of let me know what you think is needed for this team. But I think we're on the right track. I think we have a lot of time left to work with and get this team going. But for the time being, it's progress. We're getting there. Defense is healthy. Hopefully, Calvin Austin isn't missing an arm, but we're getting there. So we will hang on tight. We will just hope this offense figures it out. They might be on the right path, but as long as we're averaging more than 17 a game like we did last year, I think we're progressing. So, all right. Well, this was, once again, only Max. Jake will be on the very next episode. And like I said, in the future, when it's stuff like this, we both can't do it. It's just going to be easier if we just put something out. I'm honestly excited to hear if it ever comes to that time again for Jake, whenever he needs to record. Because if it's just an hour-long podcast of him talking about the Bengals, I would love to hear exactly. Just kind of like, obviously it's different when it's just me and him, but like you're in your own room talking about your own team and you're basically talking to yourself. I would love to see what Jake says. So, not saying that I want this because it sucks when it's not both of us, but I would be excited to hear that kind of episode. All right. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.